Peak Wealth Management proudly presents Finding True Wealth with certified financial planner Nick Hopwood and accredited investment fiduciary Jim Pilat. Nick and Jim believe by making simple, good financial decisions, you can retire with confidence. And now, let's turn it over to your hosts, Nick and Jim.
Welcome everyone to episode 127 of the Retire with Confidence podcast. I'm Nick Hopwood.
And I'm Jim Pilat.
And we want to encourage you to watch the podcast on YouTube if you're not. You might be listening on Podbean, which is great, but on YouTube, you'll be able to see when the dog joins the mix.
Yeah, that's always a highlight.
Yep, exactly. And you can smash that like button, that subscribe button.
Perfect.
Right?
That's the way to
And
do
we
it.
want lots of subscriptions.
Yep.
So the eviction moratorium was lifted Friday? I don't know. Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
And basically the Supreme Court said the CDC has no control over rent.
Right.
Okay, which makes perfect sense to me.
It's amazing that had to make it to the Supreme Court, isn't it?
Yeah, well, and they upheld it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they changed their mind now. Okay, so anyway, not to be too political on that, but I talked to my lawyer about after this went through, and so here's the deal. In Wayne County Court is being sued by other landlords for not processing the requests. So even though we've had this moratorium in place, the court is supposed to process the claim or the complaint, I guess in legal terms, the complaint, and set a court date, and then the tenant is required to show up at court, right, to say, well, I didn't pay because I don't have to, or whatever the explanation is.
Yeah.
And then the judge would rule, right? Or there could be a different reason for eviction as well. Like if your lease is up, then you can,
Right.
the landlord can file for eviction because I want my property back. Okay. Well, they should have been processing those, and they're not. So the landlords are suing the court, okay? And this is pending, all right? Now that it's been lifted, right, lawyer calls the court and says, what's the status of our complaint? Not processed. And we gave that to them like on August 2nd. So like these other landlords, I feel their pain, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see where it goes from here, but it has been lifted and it's non-constitutional, just like President Biden said the day before they announced the new extension. Okay. So anyway, that's the update on that. But today, our main topic is traditional fees at, or I should say fees at traditional brokerage firms.
Yeah, brokerage, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So back in the day, we used to be with National Independent Broker-Dealer, and you know, when we switched to custody, when we went RIA and switched to custody at TD Ameritrade Institutional, one of our themes was more for less. Okay, so more opportunities on the investment side and way less fees. Okay, and so let's talk about that fees part right now, because you know it's ironic, more investment opportunity, but this one hedge fund position that I own personally could not be held at TD Ameritrade.
That was the
ironically.
one, huh? The one.
It's the one, yeah. So I had to leave it behind, okay, at the old firm. And I have a buddy who's a rep that is handling it for me, okay? So Mr. Roth, right, the last 2 weeks we've heard about that. And so I wanted to do a conversion from the IRA to a Roth. So I call him up and I say, hey, I want to convert this account to a Roth. And this is where we get into the fees, okay? So if we want to do a conversion here at Peak with TD Ameritrade Institutional, we have to have an IRA that's holding the money. We have to have a Roth IRA to convert into, and then the client signs a form to say, I want to convert this much, and then the money moves over. Okay, so there's no fees to open an IRA at Ameritrade or a Roth IRA. There's no fees to convert. If it means that your Roth IRA, if it means that the old IRA is being closed out, there's no fees to close your account, okay? And it's pretty clean. It's fantastic. Now, comparison to the traditional brokerage firm, okay, this is where it gets very interesting. I mean, I was dumbfounded, but I just wanted to get it done, so I was willing to pay. So, first of all, there's like a $45 IRA fee every year, okay, which doesn't exist here. Other firms are like $100 or $200 a year, some of these big ones.
Yeah.
Right?
Just to open it, just to hold the account.
A
open.
year.
Yeah, every year.
Yeah. So mine was like 45, not too bad. But because, the account's kind of dormant and it was just sitting there, it had debit balance, right? Remember those old debit balances, you got to clean them up.
Yeah.
So the debit balance was like $20, okay? So I owed that. Then when we did a conversion, they charged $25 for the conversion. Then because I had to free up cash in the IRA to pay for the original debit balance and the $25 conversion, I had to sell some of the position, okay? And just to sell like a little stock is like $45, okay? To free up the $40,
right?
Okay. Then what else was there? Oh, because I was not leaving the IRA open, I was closing it, right? We were doing a clean 100% conversion. They had to close the IRA. Guess how much that fee was? That was $125.
Yeah.
Okay. So all in all, and I told him, you know what, sell enough so I have like a couple of years of these IRA custodial fees covered, like an extra night. I mean, it was like $350.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was like $350 to do this conversion at this full service firm that everyone who knows me knows where it is, but I'm just not going to say it. And here it's zero, literally zero.
So frustrating. It takes me back. I remember those days as well. And,
Yep.
it's hard when, you're influenced by the costs, right? Well, if I sell this, it's going to cost me this. If I move this for the client, it's going to cost them that. Like, that's really unfortunate, I think, that, those fees, and they add up, but they're real, and they take a bite out of the account for sure.
My other option was writing a check and paying the fees, but they said, look, they got to wait for the check to clear, and that's like 5 business days, and it's going to just extend like the amount of time it takes to get this done.
Right.
And so I said, just sell it and get it done. So this 6 years ago, we left LPL and came to Ameritrade, and basically I still feel like we're in the honeymoon. I mean, I haven't had to deal with anything like this in years, and when I do it, it just look, as the advisor, like, he's not happy to tell me that he hates it just as much as I do, right?
Right.
But if you are doing, like, how many conversions have we done this year here?
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, like 50? I mean, dozens. I feel like we're dozens and dozens. Can you imagine if it was costing this much each time we did it?
Yeah, it would make it not as advantageous for some people, or just.
I don't think I would be Mr. Roth.
There you go.
I mean, it's
a hurdle, It's something that you gotta get over, and like you said, telling the clients, hey, this is a good idea, but it's going to cost you, X amount,
hundreds of dollars.
Yeah.
So I don't have the heart to incur. They're already going to pay tax. Maybe a little, maybe just a little, maybe more, but then you have these fees on top of it. I don't have the heart for that, really.
Right. The other thing too, I remember, back in the day, if you want to use some institutional money managers, they always got their cut, right? You always had to pay them for it. Where now, we have the ability to use institutional money managers with no extra cost. I think that, for me, that's been a huge win as well. So we get top-notch investment advice, and we're not giving somebody, 25 basis points to do it.
The list could go on and on. I was only prepared to talk about, but if I really start thinking about it, I could probably come up with a lot more.
Yeah.
Layers and layers of fees. So anyway, if you would like a second opinion about your portfolio or about your financial plan or about your Roth conversion fees? How about transfer your IRA here and then we can convert it for free, right?
Yeah. The other thing too, people, if you're deciding you don't want to transfer something because you're worried about the account closing fees and all that stuff, we have a nice program with TD where we can reimburse on that.
TD would have paid it, that $125, right?
Yeah.
I think, what's ironic? I think that the outgoing transfer fees for these brokerage firms are like $50 or $100, and it was $125 if you just simply say close it.
Yeah.
But look, when we bring in new clients from any other brokerage firm, if they have closing fees, we reimburse you for that, right? Because we don't want to have that as a sticking point, right? We cover that for you. Right. So as soon as your account transfers over, we put the money right in your account.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I thought we were done, and
I brought up another point.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I think we really are done now. So. Yeah, visit us at peakwm.com. You can schedule an appointment online or just check us out, and you can reach out for an appointment via email as well, nick@peakwm.com, jim@peakwm.com. Look forward to seeing you next week.
You've been listening to certified financial planner Nick Hopwood and accredited investment fiduciary Jim Pilat on the Finding True Wealth podcast, sponsored by Peak Wealth Management. You can learn more about Peak Wealth Management by visiting peakwm.com or follow on Twitter at nhopwood1.